Welcome to the Hangry Games Arena, where Kelly Brewster, the author of What's Eating You and host of the Hangry Games, is shaking up the weight loss world. She is providing you with tons of resources and helpful tips to obtain your long-term wellness and weight loss goals once and for all. The Hangry Games is recorded and produced at Open Space Studios.
Welcome back to the Hangry Games, folks. It is crazy to think that we're already into our 20-something episode of Hangry Games. And I have to tell you, it has been just a tremendous amount of fun. And it's truly been a joy just to get to share thoughts, information, and a little bit of my Medea-isms with you guys. Pray that you've worked on some of your takeaways, your AKA homework this week. You know, while the kiddos are working on their homework, stop for a moment and use that time to work on some of your assignments as well. So today is a great day. Finally, she is going to talk about exercise. That's right. Yes, I am. Some of you have feared this day. You knew it was coming at some point. Kelly was going to talk about this. And some of you are like, thank God she finally got here already. So we're going to delve into this topic in a very general sense today. And then in some future episodes along the lines, we're going to speak to some of these specific topics or options, the benefit to risk ratio when it comes to exercise. And yes, there are ups and downs, believe it or not, to any of this. So we'll tackle some of that later on, but we're going to go over this just kind of in a general term for now. So all in all, this is the question everybody wants to know, right? All in all, do you need to exercise to lose weight? I am air quoting for my listeners the need part of this because this, in fact, is a trick question. Short answer, no, you don't. Womp, womp, womp. I know some of you guys are like, what? Y'all look like a minion, you know? But again, it's a trick question, and we're going to get to, do you need to exercise to lose weight? And the short answer is no. And for those of you who have been dreading this episode, they're like, yes, I knew it. Well, hold on to your ding-dongs a second, folks, because I am coming with that pin to bust your bubble very shortly. No, you do not need to exercise to lose weight. If you calorie restrict, you actually will, in fact, lose weight. But what are you losing, and will it sustain you for the long haul? And the answer to this question is no, it won't. Exercise in and of itself has tons of benefits. When you focus is weight loss, you may be asking yourself, okay, how much should I exercise? What is the best exercise for me to do during this time? And are there any other benefits to the blood, sweat, and tears? All right, okay, maybe just sweat and tears, but it sounded good, right? Simply put, losing weight means burning more calories than you're consuming, right? So I am taking in less than I'm putting out. If it takes about 3,500 calorie deficit to lose 1 pound, then exercise is like the Energizer Bunny to your weight loss and wellness journey. It just speeds up the process, not only during the course of exercise, but for some that are training, it actually can still burn even while you're at rest, which is amazing. And that we're going to get into in a little bit further detail. We're going to talk about that. So there are lots of different exercises that you can participate in, and they all bring something unique to the table. Resistance training may help with weight loss while maintaining muscle mass, whereas cardio can help us as well, but it may take a little longer and it can make you a little hungrier. So today we're going to talk a little bit about each of these and what is going to soar like an eagle for you, and then of course, quite frankly, is going to flop like a fish. Okay, so let's talk cardio first. Okay, this is probably the most popular type of exercise. There are various types of cardio, which makes this choice extremely appealing, such as walking, running, cycling, dancing, swimming. It is a great entry level. Yes, it is a great entry level. I did say that correctly, especially walking. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Don't get me wrong, sustained running for long periods of time will absolutely cause you to decrease your weight, but you will still need a calorie restriction depending on the depth and the length of the activity. But walking, for instance, is a great starting point. I like to think of this like entering the amusement park. You're not on a ride yet. You've just entered. You've decided to go, right? So I've decided to do something, and walking is a great way to start. But I'm not actually on a specific ride yet. So it will help to get the ball rolling. And I've got many patients, they come in, and you know me. Of course, the first couple of questions are what? How's your eating plan? How's your exercise, right? And many of my patients will say, oh yes, I started walking. And walking in and of itself is great, but without changes in pace, duration, and intensity, your body will quickly, and I mean quickly, adapt to this new activity level. That means you have to spice things up. For example, walk 1 minute at a rapid pace and then 30 seconds at a baseline rate. This is called interval training. Some of the treadmills that are out there now, I think even the most basic treadmills out there now actually have interval opportunities and options on them. And that's what you need to do. That's something that's going to actually provide compounded interest to the effect on your metabolism. And that's where we want to go. Okay. Now, aerobic exercise doesn't have a major effect on your muscle mass. However, especially when compared to strength training, for sure. Okay, strength training is definitely going to have more to do with muscle, right? But it can be a game changer for caloric intake and caloric burning, okay? The only significant problem with that increased burn is what I just said. It's an increased demand to replenish what you've used up. And that means that when the appetite walks in and it tries to set up shop, you have to be ready and be prepared. Inevitably, when you start more cardio, there's always that possibility that you're going to see that increased hunger. There are studies that do suggest that adding cardio to your exercise regimen does help you to burn fat. So all in all, adding cardio in your lifestyle will help you to manage your weight and improve metabolic health, as long as you don't overindulge in the caloric department. So just know that all physical activity can help you burn calories, but if you are not monitoring the intake, then the chance to even see weight gain is possible. And we've talked about this. I think I mentioned this a few podcasts back, and I was at the cardiologist's office. Obviously, I thought I had something going on with my heart. It wound up being COVID. Sorry, guys, if I gave you guys COVID. But anyway, I was eating healthy. I was exercising. At that time, I was doing Orange. It was right around the beginning of COVID. So I was still doing Orange Theory. And I'm getting on the scale. And I'm thinking, oh, it's on. And I got on the scale and I was like, I was so shocked. I was the heaviest I had ever been. And of course, I go into this dissertation. I'm telling her, and I've told you this story before, but I'm going over all the reasons why, blah, 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 and she's probably like, just let me check you in already and let me move on to the next patient. I'm just trying to get my day done, sister. Come on. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, okay, did I check all those boxes? And did I do this? Did I do that? Did I do this? This is what we talked about before in one of the previous podcasts. I wasn't counting my calories. So if I'm not swimming like Michael Phelps, I can't eat like Michael Phelps. And that's something we'll talk a little bit more about in a little bit further discussion. But the fact of the matter is, I was extending a lot of energy, but what it was doing, it was at the same time increasing my appetite. And I was listening. It was not helping me though, okay? So strength training, resistance training is another great form of exercise that will allow you to reap some pretty steep rewards. It increases your strength, tones your muscle, and the amount of muscle that you have. It doesn't add muscle, it increases what you already have. Now, there was a study that Healthline referred to of about 141 older adults with obesity, and they examined the effect of cardio resistance training or a combination of both on how the body composition can change during intentional weight loss. The study noted that those that did not exercise or just did cardio alone did lose fat, but they also lost muscle. Now, more muscle and bone mass than the groups that were doing the resistance training. Okay, so they actually, when they lost their weight, they lost muscle too. And one of the things I've been telling some of my patients, especially those that have decided to do the GLP-1s, which is like the Ozempic, the Wegovy, the Mounjaro, all those guys, it is a very important, and this is going to be like, it's a commercial break, okay? If you happen to be on any of these medications, I really want you to make sure that you are doing strength training. And all those big muscle groups, your glutes, your quads and hams, your calves, those are your big muscle groups, okay? When you are on a medication that creates a large amount of weight loss in a smaller period of time, by an extreme calorie deficit, in that case, that's what it does. If you are not exercising, specifically strength training, you're losing muscle mass. So think of it like a car in the parking lot. If I've got a high performance Mustang, it's idling. Where does it idle? Like, I mean, it's idle. It's burning, right? Well, when you lose all that muscle, what happens is that just that idle rate, what your body burns at rest starts dropping, okay? And if you're like some of these patients who have their insurances have said, nope, not getting it anymore, and they are off of the medication now, their weight gain has been exponential because they've lost all the muscle mass. So strength training, resistance training is absolutely essential. Now, there is some validity to weight resistance training that can also protect the bone and the muscle as well, because when you do build up that muscle around the bone, it can deter bone loss, and it actually helps to build up osteoblasts. So, and that's for another day and another topic altogether, but it does help. So if you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, strength training, resistance training can be very beneficial to you as well. But wait, there's more. I know, I feel like an infomercial or a classic game show, right? When you strengthen your muscles and create that higher performance muscle, which increases that basal metabolic rate, remember that engine idling at a higher rate. And this is a lot like that Michael Phelps concept. The more I'm doing, then what happens is not only are you burning when you are resting or you're sleeping, this counters that kind of drop in the metabolism when you're attempting that weight loss, which is just that added bonus. But the big takeaway here is that doing some form of strength or resisting training actually is a great maintenance strategy for long-term wellness and weight loss. Here's what it does. It gives you a little bit of flexibility. All right. So if I am exercising and I'm expending, let's say, 3,000 calories a day, and that's quite a bit of exercise, right? Well, then I may be able to afford going from a 1,200 calorie deficit diet to more like a 1,500. And that may be something that works for me. And everybody's got a different place that they kind of reside. So that's something you may have to play with a little bit, figure out what intake works well with your output. And then that's where your maintenance would kind of come into play. And we can maybe do one on that later on. That might help some individuals with that. So absolutely big into strength and resistance training. And that really can be either machine weights, it can be dumbbells, bands, any of those things are considered resistance and strength training. So what about HIIT, Kelly? How does this actually factor into the equation? I am so glad you asked. So HIIT stands for High Intensity Interval Training. It's a newer concept on the market, and it consists of these short bursts of intense exercise that's followed by very brief rest periods before you repeat that cycle. Some people have called it's also known as Tabatas, okay? The cool thing here is that you can use this concept with both cardio and strength, which is really cool. Now, most of these activities are kind of between 10 and 20 minutes, which, let's face it, if they're intense enough, you're like, that's about all I got in my tank when we're doing this kind of intensity, right? But the really good thing about that is when you are time restricted, a 10 or 20 minute Tabata can mean the world for you in your wellness and weight loss journey with that exercise on board. huge, huge benefits with this type of exercise. So a study was done in 2017 that compared HIIT workouts to just cardio. And although the same benefits were achieved, 40% savings in time for HIIT workouts, that's almost half the folks, guys, versus those that did the cardio. So, okay, remember back in the day, okay, you may not, but I remember back in the day, you had the aerobic classes and they were 1 hour and you had the warm up, then you had that kind of time frame where you kind of maintain that heart rate and then you cool down, and you had the leg warmers. Okay, maybe you didn't, but you know what I'm saying. I think they're making a comeback. I don't know. That's probably something that could just stay boxed up. But anyway, I digress. The fact of the matter is, this is something you can get in, done, and get out. There are so many opportunities out there. I'm gonna actually give some shout outs to some different apps and things like that I think will work well for you. But yes, you can get more done in a less period of time by doing some of these interval trainings. So you're not, yes, you're not doing anything and you decide to walk. That's great. Start somewhere, right? But once you take this engine and you take that vehicle out of the garage and you knock the dust off it, then put that puppy in high gear and start reaping the results, right? With any form of exercise, you obviously, and I'm going to say this as just a disclaimer here, you do want to get a physician to give you a thumbs up before you start anything, just in case they have some concerns about your health. And definitely, if you're going with the HIIT high intensity workouts, you do want somebody to give you that cleared for takeoff, that you're good to go. Fueling the speed. You ever started doing this really cool but vigorous and rigorous exercise only to realize that your appetite responded to your increase in activity and not in a good way? Well, it happened to me, and I'm not going to tell that story again about the cardiologist's office, but I will tell you this. Again, I did Orange Theory, which is a very high intensity interval training, and it was great. I was doing it just prior to COVID, and I will tell you this. I was burning calories. I was doing great. I was hitting all those little splats that they talk about. When I would leave, I couldn't get to my house fast enough and warm my food up fast enough to eat. I was so stinking hungry. And so I understood that that's not good. Okay. So one study, it was a very small study. It was about 20 active, healthy individuals. I noted they ate more food if they ate prior to the workout rather than after. They actually found that overall, they ate less food on the days they exercised than on those days that they were resting. And so, you have to look at your schedule. Obviously, you got to find the time in the day that works best for you for exercise. And how does that fit into the equation with eating? At one point, I would exercise, and then as soon as I was done, I was going downstairs and I was warming up my prep meal. And lately, probably the last, I would say 2 months, I may eat very early, like let's say 4:30, 5 o'clock, right when I get home. And then I will plan on, because I just can't do it in the morning. I've got Bible reading and everything else to do. So that's not the time that I exercise. But I found that after I ate and then I gave myself a little time for digestion and then I exercised, yes, it was a little harder for me to kind of calm down before I went to bed, but I did feel like I did not eat as much. And so that just worked for me and it worked for some of these guys, but just play it by ear and see what works for you, Another study, again, very small study, about 26 women with obesity. They were on a low calorie diet. They participated in HIIT workouts and had a bit of an appetite suppression, but I wouldn't hold my breath on this one, okay? I don't know. There was not enough people. I'm sure they weren't doing Orange Theory, but whatever. And then an additional study looked at time that exercise was done during the day in relation to appetite. And they did find that morning exercise had a more positive effect on reducing the appetite than those that worked out at night. But all in all, this is highly individualized and just tread cautiously. That's what I had to do. I had to kind of learn and figure out what worked the best for me. And obviously, that I love pickleball. So obviously, when we go and play, I can, like last night, for instance, I did a workout from 5:15 to 5:45, and then I went out on the court at 6 o'clock, and we got off at 8:30. Well, by the time I get home, all I want to do is drink something. I don't really want to eat at that point. I've had a little snack earlier in the day that held me over. Nobody's going to die if they don't eat dinner. Okay, it's okay. You're right. You're good. But I got that exercise in. I did what I needed to do, and I didn't need to hit the refrigerator when I got home. So, but just like I said, tread cautiously there. I would make sure that you aren't hindering your weight loss goals as a result of implementing something new to your exercise regimens. Now, what are some other reasons why exercise is beneficial? It's not just about helping you with weight loss. Exercise has shown to improve blood sugars, to reduce the chance of chronic disease like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and even some cancers. And we already talked about the advantages to the muscles and even the bone in the body, but we can even tag heart health to the list here as well. Think about it. You're making that muscle, which is a very important muscle in the body, work better. And that's good for everybody. It's also, believe it or not, good for this area, the mind. It's great for the mind, folks. You're having a rough day, maybe at home or at work. Maybe the dog ate your business reports or your homework. Maybe the pipes are leaking. It's nothing like getting your sweat on and doing something fun like pickleball to improve your outlook in life. So the bottom line is this: there are too many benefits to exercise to not incorporate them into your day-to-day routines, regardless of your long-term wellness and weight loss goals. Many individuals that are attempting to maintain their weight will find that exercise is the golden ticket, the X factor for long-term wellness and weight loss. So what is enough, Kelly? I mean, what is the minimum? What can I do to just get by? I want a C plus and that's it. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. Totally fine, right? Cardio usually requires about 150 to 300 minutes a week, moderate intensity. Or if you're going to do high intensity, 75 to 150 minutes a week of high intensity. And that usually will help to keep that heart rate and that metabolism performing at a higher level. Now, muscle training is 2 or more days a week should be sufficient for muscle training. And what I'll usually do is I kind of combine. So I'll do and I'll talk a little bit about the Nordic in a second, but I may do arms, and then I'll jump on and I'll do, right now I'm doing the Grand Canyon. So I'm walking the Grand Canyon, going down and coming back up, and I'm doing interval training with that. So they're like, I'm now on the up, so I'm doing a lot of climbing, and those are 20 minutes. So that's perfect. And there's intervals. So that's a perfect interval training, but I may do arms with that day. And then I may not do that interval training when I'm doing legs or abs or something like that. So, muscle. So, however, if your weight loss is the ultimate goal for you, you should prioritize your diet over your exercise because it's going to have a larger impact on the weight loss. If you're limited on time, shoot for resistant training over cardio with like that Tabata or HIIT in it to maintain the muscle mass to help with keeping that metabolic rate more sustainable. So what do? I get this question a lot, and simply put, do what you enjoy so that you will inevitably stick with it. If you absolutely hate the bicycle, for the love, please don't buy a stationary bike. We've had this conversation way back in one of the first podcasts. It's going to be a clothesline. It's going to hang dry clothes. That's what you're going to use it for. You got to love it. I have a renaissance with my Nordic Track. I absolutely love my Nordic Track. It's got interactions. Like I said, I'm currently right now going through the Grand Canyon. I'm on my way up. I'm probably 13 workouts into this particular series, and I'm watching it. He's talking to us as we're going, and so it makes the time go by. I'm enjoying the sights, and all of that make me want to come back. And that is what's so important about the exercise. You want to come back. You want to have fun, and you want it to matter, right? The Nordic can be a little pricey. It's a great product. It was an investment for me. I did that when COVID started, and I have not regretted one day of buying that. I really haven't. There are also some great free apps on Instagram. One that I love, I'm going to do a major shout out. I didn't ask her permission, but I'm going to shout out to her anyway. There is somebody on Instagram. It's called Angie FitFix, and she does about 5 to 6 exercises in a clump. So you can just scan the Instagram over, and it'll show you the 5 or 6. And it's a different focus with these. So it could be arm, it could be cardio, it could be legs, anything. And she'll do these posts about 3 to 4 times a week. They're great. She mixes it up, and she kind of helps to get rid of the boredom trap. So if you've been doing the same thing over and over again, try some of those things that are Instagram. They're free. She's just pushing them out there. And so definitely enjoy them. She's great. And, you just do that one, then you move it over. You do that one, then you move it over. And then what I'll do sometimes, and then I'll move it all the way back, and I'll do it again so I can get additional reps in. Another app that's pretty cool is FitOn, FITON. It has a free app, and as well as has a premium version that you pay for. And I really love this one because there are several different options for workouts. There's boxing, HIIT, dance, Pilates, yoga, stretch, strength, yada, 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 yada. Right. And there are different time frames. Like there's a 7-minute 100 squat challenge. Well, guess what? I can do that between morning and afternoon clinic, which works out perfect. So now it's hard to get down the stairs to go to afternoon clinic once I've done 100 squats, but anyway, it's a 7-minute workout, and I've gotten that in. And one of the things I've told my patients in the past, you know what? You may not have 30 minutes in your day to get your exercise in, but I bet you have 5 here and 10 here and 7 here. And if you can do a little bit through the course of the day, you've gotten your 30 minutes in. So think about it from that perspective, right? That one is a really good one. I really do like the FitOn. There's Center, CENTR, that is with Chris Hemmingsworth. No, he doesn't do all the workouts with you girls. That would be very nice, but that doesn't happen. But they have a lot of really good workouts on that one, and they have a nutritional component of it and stuff like that. That one is a pay-for app. So let's talk takeaways. So your takeaways at the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road here, is you should have less going in than coming out. And when it involves long-term wellness and weight loss, and finding what works for you individually is the best place that you can be. Now, take time this week to think about things you love to do from an activity perspective, and can you work HIIT into that plan? So if it's dance, can you work HIIT into the dance plan, right? And what can you do to plan for some strength training? Take time in the beginning of the week to plan not just your meals or your cooking, your grocery prep or anything like that, but also your exercise and your activity. That's important too. Start somewhere. Start somewhere with something that you're able to tolerate, and maybe that can stretch you just a little. And for the love, have fun doing it. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to go back for it, right? Make sure to check out prepforit.com to get updates, free resources, and such. I pray that you have an amazing week and find that exercise or activity that you can get obsessed with or about, and may the odds always be in your favor. I'll talk to you next week. Have a great one.